welcome to the college football segment of the Sports Diplomat Show. Guys, overall question to start it off, is South Carolina a national championship contender?
I personally don't think so, just because they're not in the national spotlight yet. People still don't realize that they're number 3 and they've been undefeated. They're just not in the national spotlight.
Yes, they need to they still have time to prove themselves though. They have to go to LSU, then go to Florida, and if they win both those games, then of course they're a national championship contender, because they would be they would still be at number 3, but they would be up there. They would prove themselves.
Mm-hmm. If they can play like they did against Georgia this past week, then yeah. But I mean, like he said, these next 2 weeks will determine it. So right now, I would say no. But if they win these next 2 weeks, they don't have a ton looking at them. So I would give them the advantage.
Yeah, same here. I say, ask me in 2 weeks, and I can give you a good answer. Yeah. As of right now, it's a definite no. They really haven't proven themselves. The team that showed up Georgia last week, that's the first time that team showed up all year.
Exactly.
Week before, you're down 17-7 at half against Kentucky. That's not what a number 3 team is. I'm not going to call them overrated, because every other team, it's not like they jumped a lot of spots. They went from 6 to 3 because everybody in front of them lost. Other than that, just give them 2 weeks, see what they do. The arguably two of the toughest road venues in the SEC, and let's see how they play. But first game we're talking about, South Carolina LSU.
I give the advantage to South Carolina just by a little bit, just because of the offense that South Carolina has and the offense LSU doesn't have. They just don't have any offense there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree. South Carolina will win by a small margin, in my opinion. But I think that South Carolina has been showing up, and LSU just hasn't been showing their game like they. Les Miles just needs to pick it up. I don't know what he's doing over in LSU.
LSU's about to play one of their best games of the year. Les Miles is going to get this team ready. They will be ready, but I think Spree will get his guys ready to South Carolina wins, because their defense is just too much for a mediocre LSU offense. So that's why I got South Carolina winning.
This is a tough game for me to pick. I've liked South Carolina to be SEC East winners since the beginning of the season. I picked them to win. But LSU, it's an 8 o'clock game in Baton Rouge. That's a tough place to win. Death Valley. It's a tough night crowd. But the thing with LSU is, it's like every week we keep hearing, we're just going to flip the switch and we're going to be like we were last year. We're going to flip the switch, we're going to be like we were last year. That was all the talk coming in the last week against Florida. And Florida upset that team. The score doesn't show it. But LSU, I mean, Florida at one point ran the ball 24 straight times. That's unheard of. That defensive line, which is between them and South Carolina, that's some of the deepest defensive lines in the NCAA, and they just didn't show up. I think that South Carolina wins by a field goal, something close. It's going to be a defensive matchup. I don't think South Carolina's offense is going to show up. They got a lot of young guys coming in. QBs make mistakes. I think it's going to be a defensive matchup, under 20-point scoring game. Next game we're talking about is Texas at Oklahoma.
This is a harder pick, but I got Texas by a few, just because Oklahoma hasn't showed up this year like everybody said they might, and Texas has proven people wrong already.
Definitely. Texas, even though they did lose last week to West Virginia, I think that they proved themselves as a football team. And I think that Oklahoma just hasn't done anything that's just impressed me this year. And I think that Texas will just blow out this game.
I mean, playing a team like West Virginia, like Texas did last week, you really can't take a whole lot out of it, because their defense is going to look bad because West Virginia's really good offense, and their offense is going to look good because their defense is really bad. So Texas is they're going to be like West Virginia. You can't say they challenged them from offensive standpoint. Like, Texas is going to have to go in there. David Ash will have to go and play. But, yeah, I mean, I got Texas winning too, but it's not going to be anything great. Because, I mean, Oklahoma's a good team, but I think Texas wins.
Wow. I got Oklahoma this week. It's a tough game to pick, but Texas' defense really hasn't showed up the past 2 weeks. I honestly question if they even have a defense. Oklahoma went to Texas Tech, undefeated Texas Tech. No, they did not have an impressive schedule, but they were #1 in total defense. And they embarrassed that team. not even a game. Landry Jones, he's trying to get his draft prospect up this year. He had a great, his first starting season was great. Last year, not so great. Really let down the expectations of the fan. Didn't live up to expectations at all. This year, Oklahoma is a better all-around football team. They don't have the most explosive offense, but they do have a defense. Unlike most teams in the Big 12, unlike Texas, who hasn't really found. They're still finding out who's going to start in the secondary this week. I think Oklahoma wins big, really big in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Texas defense isn't proven yet. So, this will really see because, like you said, Oklahoma's not going to be explosive, but they'll get the job done. So, I want to see how Texas defense does because you really can't base anything because West Virginia is going to make anybody look bad. So, we'll see how Texas defense looks after this week.
All right. Our number one game of the week is College Game Day. Stanford at Notre Dame. This is a big one for Notre Dame and a big one for Stanford, getting that national credibility back up on their schedule and not having people call them overrated. What do you think?
To me, Stanford probably is one of the most overrated teams I've seen all year. I just don't think that their ranking proves who they are. But on the other hand, Notre Dame, I think they've given themselves a national spotlight this year. They've proven that they can hang with the best of them again, and Stanford's proven just the opposite. So I got Notre Dame by a decent margin.
Notre Dame coming off a huge win last week against Miami. I mean, Miami's not a very impressive team, but Notre Dame definitely showed their stuff. Stanford, questionable. This is going to be a really questionable game for me, and I'm glad it's game day because it might actually turn out to be a really good game.
Notre Dame's defense is second in points allowed. So, I mean, they have a really good defense. Again, it's like you hinted at, Stanford, they haven't been too impressed, even though they did win an overtime game against Arizona. So, they can carry the momentum from that. So, that's what I want. I want to see how Stanford does against carrying that. And Notre Dame, they can control the ball with Atkinson the third and Riddick as running backs. They split time just about evenly. They can just dominate the ball. So that's why I got Notre Dame winning. Brian Kelly will get the job done. He's ready. This Notre Dame team is as good as it's gonna get. Really, I think they are in their prime right now.
Notre Dame's defense has been really impressive this year, and Drew, you're right about the national spotlight. But honestly, Notre Dame could go 3-9 and still be in the national spotlight. They always have it. They're what a lot of people call America's favorite team just because they're so popular. Stanford, though, I mean, their offense finally came to life this season, for the first time ever this season. Nunez, people were calling for him to not start last week, and he came out and performed, but their defense, which usually shows up, didn't show up at all. But Notre Dame, Miami wasn't as bad as you think. Yes, they've been stomped by the two out-of-conference games they played. Kansas State and Manhattan destroyed them. Notre Dame just 41-3. That was a blowout. But they're also 3-0 in ACC play, which means something that they're not bad. So Notre Dame has some impressive ones this season. I have them similar game to last week. Just open off, just take it to them in the second half, and I don't think Stanford will see it coming.
I think Notre Dame takes a comfortable lead to begin with and just keeps it throughout.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us with the Sports Diplomat Show, football edition.
Come on, put your hands into the fire. Explain, as I turn and meet the...
So, it's big time of year in MLB. It's October. Playoffs. It's exciting. We've already seen wild card, 1-game series, controversial call.
Exciting right there.
How do you feel about that infield fly rule in the Braves St. Louis game?
I'm not necessarily okay with the call, but what was really classless and rude was throwing garbage everywhere. Look, it's your own field first of all. If you're gonna do that, at least make it the away field.
Yeah.
It's just pointless to do it at your own field. I lost a lot of respect for Atlanta during this. I don't think they would have won it anyway.
Oh yeah, they doubled the St. Louis's hits, 12 hits. St. Louis had 6. They left, I think, 10 men in scoring position in the game. It was...
That's just bad execution.
I mean, I think the trash was classless. That was uncalled for. It's not something you do to your own field, especially in somebody like Chipper Jones's last game. Last thing he wanted to be known for was the game where all your fans threw trash on the field. I feel bad for that. Respect him. It's really sad to see him go in the way he did. At least he got a hit. Is the last.
It was no disrespect to the team, but it still wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah, if I was a player, I'd be kind of upset about that. But they have next season. Don't know if they're going to be as good as they were. I think they had a lot of talent this year. They just didn't step up to the.
They'll still be fine without Chipper Jones.
Oh yeah, I mean, errors really killed them. 3 errors in the game, cost runs. Until then, they were in the game pretty well. It was sad to see that. Also, Baltimore and Texas. That was a great game.
It was.
Baltimore is impressive. Is impressing me this year. Postseason, they came back from like 13 games down. I mean, they against the Yankees, and now they're playing great baseball right when they need to. It was impressive to see them win.
They are impressive, but to me, the most impressive team right now is the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, they're on a 2-0 streak right now. They beat the Giants 9-0. They're the strongest team right now. The Nats and St. Louis, they're neck and neck right now. The other games are pretty close, but the Giants game and the Reds, there's just no competition there.
Yeah, I picked the Reds to go to the World Series.
Right now, they're looking like it.
They are impressing me. There's tons. Like, the other night, Cueto went down, and they still won.
Yeah, their ace pitcher went down at the first bat, and they still won.
They're deep. Their pitching staff's great. You see Aroldis Chapman come in to close.
They're not even pitching their ace for this entire series.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. I think the Reds, they're going to go far. I picked last week for them to go, but I picked the Oakland A's to win it. I think the Reds are going to win. I'm changing my pick. They're impressing me. And I honestly think that Baltimore's going to go World Series against them. Baltimore's playing great baseball. Well, this has been the MLB segment of the Sports Diplomat. Can't wait to see you guys next week.